Hey, welcome back to Room 237. This is John, here with another classic horror review. In my last video I talked about Frankenstein, so now I'm going to talk about its sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. Which, in the realm of horror, as far as sequels go, this is like The Godfather Part 2. This is like The Empire Strikes Back. This is up there with Evil Dead 2. As far as just truly great superior sequels. This movie definitely improves on what this one did, while picking up directly. The beginning, it came out in 1935, also directed by James Whale, who didn't really see any point in doing a sequel. He thought he wrapped the film up pretty well with the first one. But of course, Boris Karloff was willing to come back. And the movie starts out with this one scene. Like, it opens up on a dark, stormy night, and there's this big, gothic, Victorian-looking castle. I know it's like a model, but it looks beautiful. I love shit like that. Gothic castles and fog and rain. And we have the ever beautiful actress Elsa Lanchester playing a Mary Shelley. She's talking to her baron. Pretty much the whole thing about that scene is, how is it ones with the prettiest faces can come up with the most wicked thoughts? And they pretty much ask Mary Shelley how she would, how she can finish the Frankenstein story. So, and she says, like, well, imagine you're back at the windmill, which is where this one ended. It ended with the monster being stuck in the windmill as it burnt down by the angry mobs people. But you find out that there's like a secret tunnel underneath where he was hiding, and they did do some continuity stuff. I mean, if you look at this poster here, you can see he doesn't have any bangs. Like, his hair's all burnt off. His face is more filled out because Boris Karloff was gaining weight more than this sunken in look that I think is great. But, basically, it's all about the monster surviving. And while eventually he has a mate made for him. Henry is recovering and recuperating because he got thrown from the windmill. You can tell it's a dummy. And the monster is just wandering around the woods. Again, this is a very short movie. It's only an hour, 15 minutes. But, I mean, you do get a lot of great scenes. Apologize for yawning. I mean, it's more faithful to the novel. I mean, you have the scene with the blind man. You have pretty much how the reaction with the bride. And basically, the monster gets captured in the woods, and he gets loose. And he's always out in the woods encountering new people. Colin Clive returns as Henry. James Whale went all British for this one. So, like, the role of Elizabeth was replaced. You do get some great effects, though. Like, there's this new character of Dr. Pretorius, who is like this zany, eccentric, sort of mad scientist. Sort of a mentor to Henry Frankenstein, where he says he too has found a way to create life, but it's through like of little miniatures. He has like these little glasses with like a king, a queen, a jester, and whatnot, and the effects for like the little sized people against the moving big background is still done very well. Still a very cool looking effect. And by this time Henry's ashamed of what he's done. He played with God. He played as God, and this tragedy struck. And he's like, well, now we have Dr. Pretorius is like, well, now we have to find him a mate. And the scenes with the monster in the woods really show why Boris Karloff is the man with playing in makeup. You know, he first encounters like a family. They just run away from him. Then he's walking through the woods. Sorry, keep yawning. And he hears a beautiful sounding violin. And he finds the hut of a blind man. And, you know, of course, Frankenstein's been going, "Grr, grr, grr," like, fighting everyone, basically. But now he's back to going, oh, 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 because he thinks the music's very beautiful sounding. And it's sort of like that thing, there's two men, one that can't see, one that can't speak. But the man playing the violin is very lonely, and he's always wanted a friend. So him and the monster become friends. And there's this beautiful scene. You know, the blind man takes him in, he realizes he's hurt, and he's like, we will be friends. He's like, you need to rest now. So he lays him down in the bed, and he's like holding his hand on his chest as he like talks to him. And Boris Karloff does this thing. He has all this makeup on, yet he's able to cry and like quiver his lips and cheeks just enough to really sell that the monster is so moved that someone is treating him nicely for once. And it's very sad and moving, and he does it so well, especially through all that makeup. I mean, it's very moving. But you know, and then of course outside people come in, they realize it's the monster, and shit gets all fucked up. You feel bad for the old guy, you feel bad for the monster. I mean, the monster is a tragic villain. That's what makes the most interesting monsters, is when there's tragedy behind them. The monster didn't mean to kill the girl by the lake. He doesn't mean to attack people. He just acts on impulse because he doesn't know any better. And when he conveys sadness, you really buy it. You really sympathize with him. And that's another reason why Bride of Frankenstein is a superior movie, because it does such a good job at making you sympathize with the monster. And I mean, the monster isn't anything like a Freddy Krueger or a Jason or a Michael Myers, where if they try to make him sympathetic, it would come off as, I don't know, preachy, I guess. With Boris Karloff's monster, you really do feel for him. And just that whole scene, the whole first scene with him in the blind man's hut, when he sheds that tear, it's a very beautiful, moving moment, and a great moment of acting on Karloff's part. You know, the blind man teaches him, you know, bread good, drink good, smoke cigar good. And so that's when he starts to speak, like, good, good. And it's played for laughs, like when he has the cigars, like, hoo, 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 just keeps, like, hauling off that fucking thing. And, I mean, you do get some scenes meant for laughs. I mean, the housekeeper named, the Frankenstein's housekeeper, her name's Minnie. She's played by Una O'Connor, who is a very good actress, but she does a lot of comical stuff. Like in the beginning, when the monster first emerges from that underground cave under the church, and she sees him, she does like this, like, oh, 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 this cartoony, like, and then like runs away. And of course, Dr. Pretorius really wants to create a mate for the monster. The monster encounters Dr. Pretorius, and Pretorius kind of gets him under his thumb, like always tells him what to do. They work Dr. Frankenstein to the bone, essentially. And I mean, you probably know the ending. I mean, the whole thing with the blind man and eventually the whole thing with the bride is just like in the novel. And I love the look of the bride in this. Nice, pretty dress. And I like the contrast of the crazy hair and like the very elegantly done makeup. It's very effective. I mean, you can't really see on this, but in the movie, she has like these scars under her chin, like they actually put her face on. But like the way her eyebrows are and her lipstick is, and her complexion, it's a nice contrast of like the hideous and the beautiful. I really like how they did that. And I like how they had her hair all crazy. You know, it's like this Marge Simpson look with like the white streaks. It's fantastic looking. I guess they put like a wire basket or something in her hair and just like teased it all through it. But I mean, and also you feel so bad for the monster when even the monster's mate screams at his hideousness. Like he's all happy, like he's petting her hand. Then she's like looking and starts to scream, and instantly he's just like, no. And you really just feel so bad for him. I mean, even though he is a monster, he's a tragic monster, but Boris Karloff plays it so well. The ending was always confusing to me. Like, I've always wondered why he wanted Victor Frankenstein to, he's like, yes, leave, you live. Then he looks at Pretorius and the bride, and he's like, we belong dead. And then he kills the whole, blows up the whole lab. Which, I know that's how the novel ends. I know that Victor Frankenstein has to die later on. But I mean, just the level of emotion in such a short movie, character development, if it can improve on this film, then it's got to be damn good, because I love the Frankenstein movie. And the first time I saw Bride of Frankenstein, I was like, holy shit, I think I like this more. I mean, I kind of skipped out on a lot of the plot, but that's because, I mean, well, not really, I guess, but it's kind of hard to talk about movies that are so well known. Even if people haven't seen them, they know the story. It's just like, well, what more do I say? I like the incentive that James Whale had Elsa Lanchester play Mary Shelley in the beginning to give her a speaking role, because she doesn't really speak. The bride herself doesn't speak except for like a scream and like a hiss. She's like, and because she used to feed the swans down by the film set, so she got this idea to hiss like a swan. But and I mean, in an hour 15 minutes, we only see the bride for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 at most. So that short of a time, and that look is so iconic and so referenced and parodied so many times. That's the beauty of these movies. They're the first of their kind for a lot of things, and the tropes that they create just keep moving on and on and on. And I mean, classics. Like, I love Frankenstein. Of course, I love Bride of Frankenstein. Those are my 2 favorites, especially Bride. Very well done. A very beautiful film. very emotional film, especially for a horror film. Very emotional, very superb. Two of the finest monster movies I've ever seen. Definitely check out. I know there's a third with Boris Karloff called Son of Frankenstein. I haven't seen that yet, but I am looking for it. On top of all the other Frankenstein movies from like the 40s and 50s. But anyway. So, yeah, that's all I got for Bride of Frankenstein. Tune in next time where I talk about probably my second favorite movie monster, and the guy who is only second best to Boris Karloff, in my opinion, Dracula. So, yeah. Love Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. Masterpieces of horror. Hope you check them out. But for room 237, that's all I got. Thank you.